Hello YouTube. I want to discuss an incident that occurred recently in my life that I think is indicative of the insanity of our society at large, a microcosm of the neuroses, the collective neuroses that is gripping our deeply sick culture. So I was with a relative walking my two dogs about 2 weeks ago on the Highline Canal, which is a stretch of dirt road rather close to where I live, that is specifically designated for biking, walking your dogs, etc. So we come across a neighbor of ours who is walking her two dogs. Now, and we allow our dogs to socialize with their dogs, sniff them, etc., etc. Now, one of my dogs lunges at the neck of one of the neighbor's dogs. We are able to pull them away relatively quickly. No injury occurs. No fur ripped, no skin torn, no blood, nothing whatsoever. Perhaps some mild trauma for the dog and some more significant trauma for the owner of the dog than our neighbor. But the incident is over. No big deal, right? I mean, the owner is clearly shaken up, but we think that everything is over with for the most part. Well, yesterday, the relative of mine who was on the walk with me runs into this neighbor at an event, and the neighbor begins to rant, begins to bring the issue to the surface again, and is clearly still enraged about the fact that this incident occurred, and begins saying in front of other neighbors of ours how my dog is dangerous and should be at all circumstances kept away from all other dogs, and it makes him out to be some kind of a devil. Now, my dog is typically rather sweet, but sometimes, like many other dogs, engages in an action which is quite natural for dogs. That is, fight. It's perfectly natural for dogs to fight. It occurs. Dogs are not humans, they're dogs. Of course, I would argue that the extent to which we're docile and pacified is a function of our culture and our brainwashing, and because dogs have not been subjected to that to the same extent, and probably because as a result of the fact that they are biologically different as well, they behave differently. They still engage in fights with other dogs. Perfectly normal. Now, apparently this neighbor does not think it's perfectly normal. Apparently, even though no injury occurred, there was no long-lasting harm, apparently this neighbor thinks that this is some kind of atrocity and that our dog should be kept away from all other dogs and is a quote-unquote danger. Now, just the sheer absurdity of these people, and I cannot express the extent to which these individuals who seek to control everything, they are so insecure in the world, they are so unable to deal with anything the least bit spontaneous, unpredictable, wild, indicative of the existence of a soul, indicative of the existence of an individual or animal's emotion or inability to be completely docile 24/7. Anything that breaks through this facade of moderation, management, and just normalcy to the obscene degree that it is in fact not normal at all, is something that these individuals cannot tolerate, because they are so rigidified and controlled themselves that they seek to control and restrict everything around them. And anytime anything breaks out of that paradigm of moderation, management, control, rigidification, they go batshit. They cannot deal with it. I would argue because it reminds them of what they have had taken from them, what this culture has taken from them, their spontaneity, their humanity, their wildness, their animality. I just mean that in the sense of, their attunement to their genuine emotions and desire for spontaneity, as opposed to their conformity to the obscene lengths to which this culture has gone to stamp out people's individuality and humanity, to standardize and roboticize people and animals alike, right? Animals in turn. So in urban and suburban areas, animals conform to the apartment or lawn culture that has that humans have been subsumed beneath the toxic depths of. We have our separate houses with our perfectly manicured lawns, or we have our apartments that all look the same to the landlord we pay rent to, etc. We have, and then right with that, our pets must fit into this lifestyle. They must fit into this rigidified lifestyle. That is, we must take them on leashes at all times, unless in specifically designated areas. They must only bark within a certain limit, within a certain temperature, and with a certain within a certain pitch and certain frequency, not overly loud, not overly irritating. If they're irritating the neighbors too much, this is a big problem. We must remedy this. They can't, it's just absurd. My dad, when he was growing up, they did not have locks on the doors. No locks on the doors. No fear that you're going to be robbed, etc. Now we live in a society where we seek to just control every facet of everything. We seek to not allow humans to be humans and allow animals to be animals. Because supposedly it makes us more secure and safe, but I think we're losing our innate humanness at the expense of our so-called security and safety. And really, when we obsess about security and safety, and the same thing applies to the TSA and terrorism and etc., we're doing precisely the opposite of the alleged intention. That is, we are making ourselves more paranoid and less secure. How can you feel secure when you're constantly attempting to control every facet of everything? Humans will never be able to control everything, no matter how many forests they clear cut, no matter how many ecosystems they destroy, no matter how many laws they place on people. And I second guess myself there, because the direction in which we're going, as depicted by 1984, does seem to indicate that it is perhaps possible to control humans to a fairly significant degree. But the notion that people would want to do this, see, it's a self-perpetuating cycle. It is a defeatist cycle. We think that we're making ourselves safer, but really we are increasing our paranoia, and further, we are getting rid of our ability to live in the world. It is not, humans are not meant to be 100% safe 100% of the time. Humans are meant to deal with and adapt to changes. What we have now is we're so quote-unquote secure and quote-unquote safe that we can't do anything for ourselves. We're not self-sufficient. We rely on grocery stores to feed us, and restaurants and fast food chains, and we rely on televisions and beer and shopping and cocaine and a whole variety of other drugs, whether legally sanctioned or not, to placate us and to I mean, the notion that security equals happiness, it's absurd. I mean, yeah, no one wants to get killed, no one wants their dog to get injured, but we have to look at things in less of a shallow, narrow sense, that in terms of this specific incident and this specific result. We have to look at things in terms of the society we want to create. And when people are getting molested at airports just so allegedly so that we can have a slightly lower chance of suffering casualties from a terrorist attack, or whether we have stricter leash laws so that the number of dogs that get injured decreases slightly. We have to look at the societal implications. See, we're so concerned about quantity that we don't care about quality, because we've lost our quality of life, because we've lost our humanity, because we've lost the very essence of our humanness in a large respect. We have relegated our priorities to that which can be quantified. How many people die from terrorist attacks? How many people we seek to control only what can be numerically quantified. How many dogs are injured? How many people are injured? How many lawns look perfect? What is the property value, and how much will the property value be decreased if you take X, Y, and Z change to alter the look of your house? How will that conform to the neighborhood codes, etc., etc.? We don't think about our quality of life. How our quality of life is being impacted when we're being molested at the airport. How our quality of life is being impacted when we are preventing our dogs from running free like is their birthright. How much our quality of life is being impacted when we're forcing people to get licensed and registered for anything that they want to do in their lives, including altering the look of the outside of their house or parking a certain type of vehicle like an RV in a suburban neighborhood. You can't do that for a certain length of time. It decreases property value. What about quality of life? Look, fuck property value. Look, fuck this allegation about how security is paramount. I want to live my life. I want to live in a healthy fashion. That means that there are going to be risks. There have always been risks. We will not eliminate risks, and if we do, it's going to be in a dystopian way such that we have eliminated our humanity as well. Risk is part of being human. If you can't deal with risk, then I don't know what to say to you. I would rather have the risk and my humanity and my dignity, and of course, most of the alleged things that allegedly will improve safety do not, in fact, improve safety. That's the other facet to this, of course, right? The claim of safety, taking that on its face value, is absolutely shows a lack of critical thinking. But, even if we were to take it at its face value, I'd rather be unsafe and live my life. So I just wanted to address that. They have laws in the United States that if a dog causes injury to a human such that they need cosmetic or corrective surgery, so it could be a fairly minor injury, a little scarring, but that it requires cosmetic or corrective surgery, then the dog can be taken from you by animal control or by the cops and euthanized. I mean, that's just an absurd, excessive... that's just the quintessence right there. We value the cosmetics of humans and the cosmetics of corporations above the lives of animals, and I would argue above the lives of people as well, because when humans destroy a window in a corporation, God forbid they destroy a window of a corporation that's been engaged in inhumane actions, when they destroy a window, they can go to prison. They can have their lives ruined. So we value property above human life. We value how humans look above animal life. And it's just really an insane state of affairs. We have our priorities set screwed up, and we are attempting to control and rigidify and regulate everything, and as a consequence, we are losing our souls. Time is up. Thanks for listening.